Hello there and welcome to the 9:30 a.m. Prime Flash coming to you live from My Media Prime Television, and I am Dolly Ngonde on the anchor. The news starts now as former Cameroonian Minister of Defense Edgar Alain Mebe has been sentenced to 30 years imprisonment alongside his wife, who has also been sentenced a 10-year jail term. This is coming after the Special Criminal Court found them guilty for charges of embezzlement. Get details right ahead with Eileen Summer.
The verdict on the case of embezzlement of public funds involving former Cameroonian Minister of Defense Edgar Alain Mebe and his wife Bernadette Mebe was passed on the night of February 1, 2023 by the Special Criminal Court in Yaoundé. Edgar Alain Mebe was sentenced to 30 years in prison and wife Bernadette Mebe 10 years in prison. Recall here that Mebe was jailed in the Yaoundé Central Prison on March 8, 2019, and his spouse Bernadette joined him 3 days later on March 11, 2019. The couple, alongside 3 others involved, were charged by the Special Criminal Court, which handles cases of embezzlement of public funds. They were charged with corruption over the purchase of military equipment from French company Mark Force. Investigations later on revealed that the misconduct caused the public treasury to lose more than 100 billion francs CFA, and according to sources, 2 sons of the Mebe couple were also implicated in the case. Recall here that Mebe's wife had been accused of burning some banknotes bearing various currencies reportedly packed in a room in the ex-minister's house when the embezzlement investigations had started. The video, which went viral on the social media, was however not confirmed by the Cameroonian authorities as valid. It is worth noting that before Mebe was appointed Defense Minister in 2009, he served as Delegate General of National Security and was an active actor promoting the Opération Épervier, a system put in place by President Paul Biya in 2006 to fight corruption, and now the former minister has been considered the biggest victim of his system.
Away from that, let's talk what's making headline news in the country, where a few hours after the announcement is made of fuel prices across the country, authorities in Buda did take to the streets to also react against the artificial price scarcity and fuel scarcity that was superimposed by dealers there in that part of the country. In the report coming up by Catherine Ekong, where we are told that they had to stop all these lies that were, of course, perpetrated as the dealers eagerly waited for the February 1st date for the effectiveness of the new prices. Take a listen to her report.
Few hours after information of price hike in petroleum products on 31st January 2023, some filling stations in Buda West region of Cameroon decided to stop the sale of fuel to wait for February 1, when the new prices must have taken effect. In a bid to fight against this artificial scarcity, authorities in Buda took to the streets shortly after they got information to ensure that filling stations which had stopped selling opened their doors to the population.
Our mission this evening is to take inventory of the stock of petrol in all the petrol stations. Given the increase in prices, many economic operators will be struggling to stock the product and then sell at a higher price tomorrow. So we are in the field to make sure that the stock they have, we take inventory of the stock and to know that the prices up till 12 midnight today are supposed to be respected. That is why we are at this petrol station and making sure that consumers or people who need petrol, they come and buy at the normal price. Those who want to lock their petrol station, we open them and we ask them to sell at the normal price, because they don't want to create artificial shortages and stock the product to sell at a higher price the next day.
It should be recorded that the government of Cameroon had increased the price of petroleum products shortly after the International Monetary Fund team visited Cameroon, suggesting that government should reduce fuel subsidies by 50% owing to certain shifts on the international markets. The increase was announced in a release signed by the Secretary General at the Prime Minister's office at night for Tuesday, 31st January 2023. The release also suggests salaries of civil servants have been increased by 5.2% and minimum wage raised from 36,270 francs to 41,875 francs.
And in more news, fuel hikes have also brought negative consequences on Cameroonians, mainly because of an increase in transport fare, which would later be consequential on the common man, as taxi drivers as well as interurban transport agency, not forgetting bike riders, have increased the cost of transportation. But Elvis is reporting right now from Yaoundé that the burden is already being felt by many Cameroonians. Take a listen to his report.
Just 2 days after Cameroonians were informed that electricity supply will no longer be stable for at least 2 months, the Prime Minister's office went ahead to announce an increase in fuel prices. With an increase in the minimum wage as well as an increase in the salaries of civil servants, Cameroonians are left to deal with the consequences of this administrative decision.
It doesn't only for taxi drivers, it's for all the consumers. Yes, if you ride in the village, if I don't cope, God will help us. It's only God, because we cannot decide. We can't decide. If the government is increasing us or reducing us, we should go on. And we'll see how we have to adjust the problem after.
No, because like I'm only pleading if they can see, we can see if they can like reduce the price back to normal.
This increase in fuel prices comes at a time when a journalist has been killed in Yaoundé for investigating corruption and theft of public funds. Cameroonians believe if the government lays emphasis on jailing embezzlers as well as recovery of stolen funds, then there will be no need to increase fuel prices.
Par exemple, le train de vie de l'État est extrêmement élevé. Pourquoi ne pas réduire le train de vie de l'État?
Government officials, for instance, have high standards of living. Embezzlement of billions of francs CFA in the COVID funds, Olympic Stadium, corruption at all levels. They were not obliged to transfer the consequences on Cameroonians.
Mettre ça sur le dos de la population. Donc, il faut qu'ils changent.
If care is not taken, such measures could lead to an increase in insecurity, and the government will equally have a lot to deal with.
Le gouvernement doit être responsable.
The government should be held responsible for those who will die because of depression, poverty, as well as those who will go back to the village.
Mais imaginez.
The increase in fuel prices comes shortly after the Cameroonian government announced it is increasing the prices of stamps and vignettes for this year. Alongside an increase in the cost of living, Cameroonians are wondering how to come out of this unfortunate situation.
You're welcome back. Still in line with the increase in fuel prices from 630 francs CFA to 730 francs CFA per litre, diverse road drivers as well as road users in the city of Douala have confirmed that the recent changes have already taken effect across the city. Naivona went earlier talking with some of them and compared the following report.
Following the recent increment on the prices of petroleum products by the government, as contained in the release signed January 31, 2023 by the Secretary General at the Prime Minister's office, the reality of this decision has already been felt across the national territory. A litre of fuel as from this February 1, 2023, is sold at 730 francs CFA as opposed to the initial 630 CFA francs before now across the national territory. Going by the release, this move is intended to address the rising inflation experienced in the country. In the city of Douala, taxi drivers and commercial bike riders earlier today attested to the reality and effectiveness of this government's decision at some filling points in the city. I woke up this morning and headed for the filling station to refill my bike, but I was told fuel is 730 francs per litre. Sometimes I fill my bike before starting work, but today, the 3,500 francs I had could not fill my tank.
Mais le 3500 ça ne fait pas le plein.
Moi, j'ai appris par rapport à l'augmentation de carburant.
Yesterday, I learned of the increase.
And you're watching the 9:30 a.m. Prime Flash coming to you right here from My Media Prime Television in Douala. Now, some taxi drivers plying the Bali, Mamfe, Ekok and Kumba stretch of routes have said enough is enough as they have suspended their activities in a bid to call on government's attention given the numerous challenges and also checkpoints and road blocks which characterize the aforementioned highways. In the report coming up next, done for us by Julian Dambi, we are told that the suspension is intended to be prolonged. Take a listen to her.
One of the effects of the Anglophone crisis is the huge military presence in the northwest and southwest regions, mounting several checkpoints. Not to forget, there are also several checkpoints erected by separatist fighters, a situation public transporters, especially taxi drivers in Bamenda, say have made life unbearable, leading them to suspend their activities in a bid to call on government's attention.
A strike concerning many checkpoints, too much checkpoints on Bamenda, Batugo, Manfe, Ekok, Kumba Highway. We have, as transporters, we have complained too much to the quarters that be concerning these numerous checkpoints, and nothing has been done. It's getting to 6 years that crisis is rocking this northwest, and we like transporters, we are there struggling to manage that with transport. It has come to a level where it seems that we are those who instituted this crisis, so we want to put an end to it. If the government doesn't want to hear from us, then we better pack down forever, because we mean it.
The Taxi Drivers Union equally highlights that it is not the checkpoints that is their main concern, but the money that they must pay at every stop to either of the parties on the road.
If you see among us here, they are all line leaders. We do our normal return that we check our documents before we load any car in the park. Any car that is loading, we check the document. So it is not an issue of...
And away from that, Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index for 2022 has ranked Cameroon the 21st most corrupt African country with a score of 26 out of 100 in terms of in terms of transparency. The index that uses experts to evaluate perceived level of corruption in 180 countries and territories in the world has evaluated the level of corruption in Cameroon by ranking it at the 39th position as the most corrupt country. We will get details of this report in our subsequent newscast, and then we keep on talking news where the Cameroon Defense Forces have neutralized the commander of the Sokadef, that is a separatist group operating along the Kumba-Mamfe highway in the southwest region. Ayok Defkan Difon, also known as General Transporter, alongside close aides were neutralized and displayed by the military at the Bisek Junction in Kumba. Tamfu Sidwan witnessed the scene and put the following report.
On the evening of Tuesday, 31st January 2023, the lifeless bodies of the commander of the Southern Cameroon's Defense Forces, Sokadev, a faction of the separatist fighters, Ayok Defkan Difon, and his close aide, were displayed by the Rapid Intervention Battalion B at Bisek Junction, Kumba, after they were neutralized in Konye subdivision along the Kumba-Mamfe road.
All of them are going to be neutralized.
The senior divisional officer for Meme Chamberlain Tundong appreciated the defense forces, warning that those still keeping weapons and fighting should stop, else they will also be killed by the defense forces of Cameroon.
Once more, congratulations to our forces all who remain in the bushes to come and lay down their guns. Let them come and lay down their gun and drop the DPI.
He went further to claim that the Cameroon military acts with bravery, celebrating what he termed a victory over the separatist fighters along the Kumba-Mafe road.
Our army, a very strong one, a very powerful country.
The separatist commander, General Transporter, before his death, was noted for actions he coordinated, claiming the lives of several military officers along that stretch of road with the use of heavy war weapons and improvised explosive devices. The senior divisional officer for Meme also claimed that General Transporter was involved in the Mother Francisca school attack in 2021, which claimed the lives of 7 children.
Transporter is one of the main actors of the killing of Mother Francisca. You remember very well. That was the Transporter that was inside. He was the one terrorizing the population along Kumba-Mafe Road. And today he has been terrorized by the state authority, by our forces of law and order, and those in the bushes, they are not having another war except the surrender and TTR.
On Sunday, he made a video challenging the state's forces after attacking a military convoy at a locality known as Ekiliwindi Mile 19 along the Kumba-Mafe Road.
That was Tampu Sidwan reporting from Kumba. Still in military-oriented news, some members of the Rapid Intervention Battalion Unit, the B with the French acronym, have been spotted carrying out free consultations and surgical procedures on some 1,500 patients suffering from cataract. Meanwhile, 258 of these patients were operated upon, among which 138 regained their sights instantly. As we hear that those who regained their sight also did receive medications for follow-up treatment. We definitely will be giving you details of this report and definitely many more which will be coming up during our 6:30 prime time newscast coming up with Isle and of course Magdala Ayong-Bisong, and many other interesting programs will be coming up just for your viewership. At exactly 10 a.m. Cameroon time, the brief is coming up with Lasha Kingsley, 11 a.m. in the house, where we talk issues of the house. This newscast has been produced by Elvis, Modika. I have been Dolly, Ngonde for presentation. Coordination came from Faitata and general supervision from Leonard. Stay blessed until next time.